Well, hey there guys, it's Corinna from Shared Legacy Farms and from My Digital Farmer. I hope you guys are doing great today. I wanted to jump in for a training this morning all about something that I'm doing right now in my own CSA. It's called a challenge. And this is something that I learned about during my study of the online marketing space. You see them done a lot, and I wanted to see if it was something that I could use for my own CSA product. I've been doing them for over a year now, and they are awesome. Now, I have trained in this group before about challenges. I have other tutorials on this topic, and I teach about it in my course for how to develop a really thriving Facebook group for your CSA. But I wanted to kind of go into it again because it's really current for me right now. We're doing an herb challenge in my CSA and it is going bonkers. And so if you're a CSA farmer and you're like in the middle of your season right now and you feel like there's this lull in energy or there's just not a lot of focus and clarity of focus in your tribe, challenges can be a great way to bring your CSA membership and community together because it becomes something that everyone rallies around and focuses on for a short period of time. And it just creates a lot of momentum for your brand. So today I wanted to walk you through how to create a challenge. And I'm going to use the example of my 30-day herb challenge that we're running right now in our CSA. I'm also going to be referencing some other challenges we've done in the past as well, but I'm going to use that as my example as we kind of walk through how to do this. My goal is to kind of train you and equip you to know the basics for how to build your own version of a challenge. They're actually pretty easy to do. There's kind of a hardcore way to do it if you want to be like all in and make this resource that will, and this asset that will last for a long time, or you can just do something kind of simple the first time and just kind of roll with the punches and sort of plan it a little bit. We kind of live in the moment, and either way works, and they're both really effective. So I'm going to start. Just first, I want to make sure you guys know that I have a podcast now. It's called the My Digital Farmer podcast. I just added it onto Spotify. So I just want to encourage you to check that out if you haven't already and subscribe to that. A new episode gets released every single Wednesday. All right, so let me give you some examples of challenge titles, challenges that we have done as a CSA farm in the past. So right now we're doing an herb challenge. The idea is that we want people to try and use as many fresh herbs as possible in their cooking, and I'll give you kind of some details of how that works in a second. But that's a 30-day challenge, and it's running through the entirety of August. Now, we've also done something called the Lunchbox Challenge, which was also hugely popular. That was back in September of last year, where I was challenging my community and actually outsiders, not even just my CSA members, but to try to pack better, healthier lunches for their kids at school. And that came out of a problem that I saw in my own family, that I was always having to wake up early in the morning, frazzled, trying to throw together 2 lunches, and I was just sick of it. I felt like I was running out of ideas, and I just wanted to get better at making healthier lunches, and more importantly, I wanted to teach my kids how to do it. And so this challenge ended up becoming a process where I taught my kids how to pack better lunches, gave them different kinds of options, and then I shared it with my community and encouraged them to, spend 30 days trying to create better lunches as well. I've done Instant Pot challenges. That was wildly popular, teaching people how to use an Instant Pot and get comfortable with that tool. And I've also seen done I think it's called the Daily Greens Challenge. This is something that Katie Bishop did in her CSA this past spring, and it got a lot of engagement. I'm inside her group for her CSA, kind of watching it, and they had a lot of people participate. And the idea there was to try and get people to eat a cup of greens every single day during that challenge. And there was a lot of education and training for how one could do that. Okay, so those are just some examples to get your mind kind of spinning. Basically, the goal when you're building a challenge is to help your customer, your ideal customer, learn a specific skill set and overcome some kind of a problem that they're experiencing in a short period of time, right? So the reason why we sign up for challenges is because they're not for 5 months. They're a short amount of time. It's 14 days or 21 days. And when we think about that as a consumer, that's something we can get behind. Like, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice or try something for 21 days and see if I can learn something. So it is usually a short period of time. Mine typically run between 14 days and 30 days, depending on the type of content that we're going to be focusing on. Now, the herb challenge is running for 30 days, and that's just because I felt like if I made it only 14 days, that wasn't going to be enough time to really dive in as much as we could with this. And we've turned it into a photo challenge as well. So people are taking photographs, and we have a pretty cool prize where we give a significant discount to people. The first, second, and third place winners will get a discount for next year's membership in our CSA. So a couple of things that another goal, I guess, for me personally as a business owner when I'm running a challenge, it isn't just to try and grow my audience, teach them something, but it builds my list. So you can create a challenge in such a way that it's really targeting everyone. So the herb challenge is actually just for my insiders. I'm only doing it inside my private Facebook group, so the outside world can't see that it's going on. But I have done most of my challenge on the outside as well, and I invite the public to be a part of it as well and potentially earn the prize as well. And the good part about that is that you can set it up so that if people want to join the challenge and have a chance at winning this prize, they have to subscribe to an email form, and then now you have their email address and you can continue to kind of coach them through the challenge, add value to them, build a relationship with them. So it becomes a way for you to grow your list and begin to nurture relationships with those new people. And sometimes they end up becoming customers because they learn so much from you. But it isn't just hitting people in the subscribe phase where we might try to be moving people from awareness into the subscribe phase of the customer value journey. Most importantly, we're hitting that excite phase of the customer value journey. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're like, customer value what? This is a training that I reference all the time. It's actually I want to say it's episode 4 in my podcast. I could be wrong. Maybe it's episode 2. I'm going to have to go look. Look in the comments below. I'll reference it later. But this is the map that kind of guides people through the customer value journey. This is a really helpful tool to have because these are the steps that every customer takes as they go through your brand. And when you know what these steps are, you can then build experiences through your brand that make sure people move through them. So if you want to create brand ambassadors and get them to the top quadrant, you've got to make sure that they go through all these others. So you got to make mechanisms in your business that cause them to move. So this kind of thing, this challenge will hit people in the brand awareness that makes people aware that you even exist. So it's a really good tool to kind of get people into the funnel and starting the journey and get them through the subscribe phase, get them onto your email list. But it's also super powerful for the middle section, the excite phase. Once a person has bought your product and they're starting to experiment with it, if you can get them excited about it and really like a quick win, and they're starting to learn something and they have like an aha moment because of you, that excites them and that makes them more loyal and more likely to keep staying with you. So challenges definitely do that. I have just seen an incredible resurgence of momentum in our group. People are posting ideas for what to do with these herbs right now and giving all inspiration to my members, to my rookies, but also to people who've only been in there for a couple of years. And I'm just amazed at the kinds of training that's happened from training that's happening from within my own community, not just coming from me. And that is what's growing people. They see these ideas, then they go try it in their kitchen and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of making that or using herbs this way. And that gives them this quick win sort of experience. Okay, so challenges are really, really, really valuable. And I want to encourage you, hopefully by the end of this training, to give it a shot, just to see, even if it's just a very low-key version of it, just see if it doesn't do something to excite your current membership. So what are the 2 steps to building a good challenge? There really are just 2 steps. Number 1 is that you have to decide on your topic, your challenge topic. And so the way to kind of figure out what that is, well, first of all, you can ask around, see what other people are doing, because usually the ones that other people are doing that have been successful will probably be successful in your CSA as well. But what I like to do is I like to ask myself, what is something that my ideal client is currently struggling with where I can provide some support and insight in a short period of time? And oftentimes it's not just what is my ideal client struggling with, but what am I struggling with? Because I am sort of my ideal client. And so I know that if I'm having a frustration, then my ideal client is probably as well. So that's like the Lunchbox Challenge, for instance. I'm like, I know that other moms who love to cook food like I do are probably dealing with this too. And so if I want to get better at this, I bet there are other moms out there that want to as well. This is going to resonate. And it did. Same thing with herbs. Like I just have so many herbs coming out, just coming out like crazy in my garden. And I don't know what to do with them. I just feel like I know what to do with basil and rosemary and thyme. Maybe that's it. But that's it. And so I just get overwhelmed when the parsley just keeps coming and keeps coming. And so I wanted to do something to force myself to get better at this. And so I also know that my own clients out there are also struggling with this. So decide on a challenge or topic based on what you think your current members, your ideal client, might just be having a hard time with. And that's going to give you a good idea of what a good challenge topic might be. So that's why I love the greens challenge, because I also know that my own audience really struggles with the abundance of greens at the beginning of the season or even at the end of the season, and they just don't know what to do with them all. And that's a great time to create some kind of an educational challenge that's going to teach them how to start using those better. Okay, so kind of a good formula or rule of thumb to create like the title of your challenge is like how to, and then insert like the results you can promise. So how to pack a better lunch, and then the time period in 5 days, or how to master how to use greens in 14 days. Okay, so there's kind of 3 parts: the how to, and then whatever your promised results, the results you can promise, that sort of phrase goes next, and then come up with your time period: 14 days, 7 days, 30 days. So right now it's the how to get better at using fresh herbs in 30 days. Okay, that's kind of what it is for us right now with our herb challenge. Now, if you're not sure you can create results or promise results in 30 days, that's okay. I want you to think about it in terms of like, what could you create if someone actually followed your instructions to a T? That's what I want you to focus on. What promises could you result if someone actually followed your instructions to the letter? Now, not everyone is going to get amazing results if they're not dialed in and all in on this challenge and they don't follow your recommendations to a T. They're maybe not going to see these life-changing results or these huge aha moments, but it's just your job in a challenge to show people what's possible. Okay, so step 1 is just coming up with a topic. Use that formula to kind of figure out a title. Number 2 is, once you know the topic, you need to decide on daily topics for the challenge. So in my case, I have a 30-day herb challenge. I do not have a topic for every single day. That's a little bit over the top. So we've actually, I think we've got content for maybe 14 days. So it's maybe every other day that we post something or we have a training of some sort. Now there are sort of 2 parts to this daily topic thing. Okay, number 1 is you've got to come up with some educational content. So I try to keep this short and sweet because people don't have a lot of time these days. So this is usually takes the form of some kind of a social post in this case in our private Facebook group. But if I do it on the outward facing business page as well, it would also go out there on my business page. And I sometimes will post it on Instagram as well. Not doing that with my herb challenge because that's just for my insiders right now. But so you need some kind of educational post, short and sweet. It can just be a picture with some text where you teach them a quick tip. But it could also be like a video tutorial where if you're not afraid of video, you could get in front of a live video and, show them how to quickly freeze herbs in ice cube trays. Okay. And just say, hey, this is something that you can do. So that's an example of what we actually did as one of our posts. So there's an educational content piece that you're sort of planning for your daily topics, but there's also then the assignment. Now this is something that they have to do to take action. And you want to try and make that assignment like under 10 minutes, under 15 minutes. Now, this can take a couple of different forms depending on how you do a challenge. So with the Instant Pot challenge that I did this past winter, I literally had an email that went out when somebody subscribed to it, an email that went out every day with some kind of Instant Pot recipe. And before I gave that recipe, I had some sort of educational tip to help them learn a little bit more skill set about Instant Pot. And then whatever that recipe was below, it allowed them to practice that skill set that I had just taught them in the email, okay? So then there was a challenge at the end of the email. It said, hey, this is what I want you to do today. As part of your challenge, I want you to try to make this recipe and practice, you doing the skill that I just taught you. So that was that kind of what I'm talking about, that second part of the challenge, the assignment piece, because you want them to actually take action. So you can do it that way if you have a 30-day, that was a 14-day Instant Pot challenge. And so every day there was an actual assignment that went along with the email. But if that's like too overwhelming and too much content, you can also just make it a more general assignment like we're doing with the herb challenge. So it's running for 30 days. I do not want to create a daily assignment for my herb people. That would be overwhelming. So instead, I just told them at the beginning of the challenge, here's what you need to do to enter the challenge and to win. You've got to post a picture of something you did with herbs, some way that you tried a new thing with herbs 4 times in the next 30 days. So 1 time a week. That is the assignment, okay? Now I encourage them to try and do it a little bit more, push themselves, but bare minimum, they've got to do 1 thing a week with herbs that's new and different that they've never tried before to push themselves, okay? So that's another way that you could kind of do this assignment piece if you don't want to get intense and have like pre-write, these emails or this whole like content piece. All right, so the way to kind of then work this out in advance is, you're thinking about these topics, your big topic is herbs, for instance, and then you're thinking through, okay, well, what are some of the things that I could teach people about herbs? And you start to write those down, just brainstorm them, and then you come up with a challenge or an assignment that will go along with each of those tasks, if that's how you want to do it. So here's like a little phrase to help you. I'll teach my challengers blank on this day, on day 1, and I'll have them cement that knowledge by having them do fill in the blank. Okay, so that's kind of a little formula to help you figure out what to do for each of these daily topics. I kind of use that as a general guide as I'm thinking through the plan. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what this has looked like for us. Let's start out with the herb challenge. Okay, so Katie and I, she's my community manager for my Facebook group, also a dietitian. We call her the CSA coach. She oversees my Facebook group and really runs the show in there. So she and I sat down about 5 weeks ago and we said we want to do an herb challenge in end of July through August. How's this going to work? And we thought of these educational ideas. And we actually had to Google some things, okay? Because we're not like all-knowing ninjas about herbs. Clearly, I'm not. I'm struggling with my own set of herb problems. And so we went out and started researching. We went to thekitchen.com and we went to Food 52 and we looked up all these different things. What can we do with herbs? And we just started making a list. And we looked at that list and said, okay, is this stuff that we could teach? Like, is this stuff that would be pretty easy to create content around? So here are some examples. Like we came up with herb butters, herb vinegars, herb salts, pesto 101, a mortar and pestle like demo kind of mini workshop, drying herbs, putting herbs into water, flavoring water, doing salad dressings. And that was just the quick list that I came up with from memory, okay? That's already 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 8 topics. That's 8 days worth of content or posts right there, okay? And then we would just stick them on sticky notes, each topic on sticky note. And then I had a little calendar. I do everything on paper because it's just how I am. And then we began to plot them out onto the month of August. And we're like, okay, where would it make the most sense to put this? And we kind of penciled them in. And then I said, okay, Katie, you're going to be in charge of the infused oil and vinegar topic. Figure out how you want to do that. You can do it as a video, or you can create a post, or you can create a PDF. So we just kind of brainstormed what are some different things. How can we kind of support this content? And there were times when I would say, okay, I definitely feel like this needs to be a video. So we have probably like 3 or 4 topics that are going to be short videos. And then there's some things where I said, we don't need to make a video for this, or we already have one that we could just link up. Maybe we'll make a PDF instead. Like I made a PDF of salad dressings, different recipes that they could use with herbs, and that becomes a freebie that day that they get that goes along with that content. So she can create a post about how you can use herbs and salad dressings, and then there's the link for that freebie. Okay, so that was just coming out of a brainstorm. How can we create content around these different topics? And then we just plotted it out on a map. Then when it came time to actually implement the challenge, she and I are looking at this calendar every day or a couple days out and saying, okay, it's going to be my turn tomorrow. I'm going to have to post something in my group about such and such herb method or this kind of exit strategy for herbs. Okay? And that's just meant to be the educational content piece to help just inspire them to know what can you do with herbs, right? And then that assignment piece is sort of the blanket assignment that we gave at the very beginning when we introduced the challenge, and we said, this is your assignment. Take all the stuff that we're teaching you, use your own knowledge as well and your own research, and do 4 different cool new things with herbs sometime in the next 4 weeks. All right. Another way that you could, another example of how we've organized this is the Instant Pot Challenge. And I brought that up earlier. But one of the first, I think it was day 2, this was like an email challenge that I set up along with some videos on social. So I pre-wrote 14 emails in advance. Each email had a recipe that taught a certain element of the Instant Pot. And at the top, I did a little bit of education about what they needed to know in order to be able to do this recipe. And in some cases, I actually had created a short video on Facebook as a Facebook Live video. Like I remember making one for how to do a quick release, because that scares a lot of people. So I just showed them how to do it as a video. Then I downloaded that video and then I kind of inserted the link into the email. And I said, hey, go watch this, see how a quick release is done. Now down below is a recipe where you have to use a quick release. This is your challenge today. I want you to make this recipe, practice the quick release. Okay, so that was kind of the way that I organized my Instant Pot challenge. I actually plotted out 14 separate days of email content. Some of those days also had videos that I would pop in, on Facebook and teach how to do it as a video. All right. So those are kind of a couple of different examples of how you can make that work. Now, when you're doing a challenge, it's important that you set up the rules for the challenge. So we have to introduce the challenge to our community before it starts, right? We don't just like suddenly start, doing Instant Pot recipes. So usually a few days before, I think I did about a week before, I began to quote unquote warn my audience that a challenge was coming. And I call that sort of the pre-launch phase. And I want to get them excited. I want to get them thinking about, oh, there's something coming. It's really cool. I can't wait to see what she unveils. And the day of the challenge, when it began, I went on live and I explained the rules. And I later also put it into our newsletter, so it was all written down. Okay, so in the rules, these are the things that you want to think about. You want to think about, number 1, how long is your challenge going to last? When does it start? So start and end times. You also need to communicate who can enter. So what are the age restrictions? Do you want them to be CSA members only, or can this be for anyone? Does it have to be at least 18? Think about those kinds of questions. Do you want them to live locally, or could somebody from out of the state enter? That happened to me once accidentally. I didn't make that restriction, and then I ended up having to send off a present to someone who would never be my customer, which is, probably not, in retrospect, the best way to do it. Create a hashtag of some sort that goes along with your challenge. So ours is SLF Herb Challenge right now. And the reason why that's important is because I need to be able to go find all the entries and pick out my favorites. So I tell them, you're not going to be able to have your entry judged if I can't find it. So you got to put this hashtag in every single one of your pictures. And then think about the prizes. If you want to do a physical prize, what might that be? And how do you become eligible to win that prize? So again, that goes back to, do you have to be a CSA member to be eligible? Do you have to be a certain age? How many times do you have to enter? And then what do you have to do to enter? So in my case with the Herb Challenge, you have to actually post a photograph. You have to put the hashtag in, And you have to tell us what herbs you used. Those were kind of the 3 things that I said were necessary. And then also you need to announce when you will announce the winner and how you will choose them. That's also good. Is this going to be just randomly choosing some from the hat? Or is this going to be based on the quality of the photograph? Or is it based on the number of times you've entered? Like, what is it? So you need to be clear about that with people when you announce your contest. And then finally, there are some things that you're required to do if you're going to use Facebook. You have to use this phrase. You can just Google like contest rules Facebook, and it'll give you like a page that tells you kind of all the policies and procedures for how to run a contest on Facebook. But this is the phrase, an acknowledgement that the promotion is in no way sponsored, endorsed, administered by, or associated with Facebook. So especially if you're having it on your outward facing business page, like you need to have that kind of said at some point and typed out in your description somewhere. The other thing that's different now is you can't use that phrase, tag your friends to enter. You can't use that or you could get shut down. So be careful about that little phrase. That was something that I did not know. And I like to tell my people that I'm going to use their pictures that they post for promotional purposes potentially, and that they need to be okay with that. So don't put a picture of your kid, munching on herbs if you're not ready for me to potentially use that picture later on in my marketing. Something to think about. Okay, so as I said, there is like a pre-launch period. I talk it up in the week before it actually happens. This is important. I really think that's important. You don't just want to start it and not give anybody any warning, because this is what gets people excited. It starts getting their minds spinning. And we've done, we typically do like 4 or 5 challenges a year as a CSA community. And so they love them. And so when they know that another one's coming, they start to get like all excited about it. And I want to create that, energy with them. So that's why I want to kind of talk it up before I officially launch it. And in some cases, people need to get supplies in their house so that they're ready to do it. So at the Instant Pot Challenge, for example, if they're going to do the Instant Pot Challenge and they know it's coming in a week, some of them may need to order an Instant Pot from Amazon, right? And get it in their house. So just kind of think about that as well. Use your newsletter to talk it up. Use an email. Definitely send out an email to everyone that's just about the challenge. And use your Facebook group itself to notify people that it is coming. And then it's actually launch time. Launch time, it's go time. Let's start this challenge, day 1. So you can do this a couple of ways. I sort of referenced this earlier. You can set it up as a live launch where the challenge is happening live in the moment with everyone at the same time, and you're just posting mostly on social media. Maybe you're sending out an occasional email throughout that live period with tips and tricks and other like content that's supporting them. You can use your Facebook business page or Instagram account for that, posting that educational content, but you could also put it in an email. And I feel like that's what we're doing right now with the Herb Challenge. It's a live launch, a live challenge. I'm not doing a ton of email sending out. So that's one way to do it, where we're all like living it together, okay? But another way you could do it is what I call an evergreen sort of challenge. And that's where you create this content via email. People subscribe to a form, and then they get most of the content through an email, okay? So that's how they're being taught and challenged and given an assignment. And that's what I have done with my Lunchbox Challenge and with my Instant Pot Challenge, my Crockpot Challenge. Those are all sort of like email launches, and they're evergreen because once I've built that, educational experience, people can subscribe to that challenge any time of the year. It doesn't have to be when we're all doing it. And that's kind of what I like about it, is people continue to stumble upon my Instant Pot Challenge in the off season. And I just got an email actually from somebody a few days ago who was like, oh my gosh, help. Your curry chicken recipe doesn't have any curry powder in it. Are you sure? And so I went back and looked at my original recipe. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to type the curry powder in. So I told her, yes, you need a teaspoon of curry powder. And I went and fixed it in my email drip campaign. But I mean, that just goes to show you. And then she wrote me, oh my gosh, I've learned so much about how to do the Instant Pot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm loving this. So there are people who are finding my challenges all year long because some of them I have created as an evergreen kind of email launch that people can use any time of year. and learn from you any time of year. Now, the good thing about that, like I said before, is that they're getting on your email list, right? And now they're becoming a potential buyer. The bad side of that is that you could be attracting people onto your email list that don't live anywhere near you. And so will they ever really become a customer? Now, sure, you're adding value to a bunch of people, but if they don't live nearby, that's something to think about. Now, in my case, I have a product that I pitch to people called the Online Academy, where they can get access to all my teaching tutorials and workshops and ebooks and videos and everything. And so that sort of makes sense for me why I want to create these email challenges and get people from all over the country, because anybody can be in my academy and take my canning courses and workshops and all that stuff that's in there. And so that's kind of how I pitch it to them. Once they've gone through that challenge, I make them aware of the fact that I have this product that they could buy this monthly membership if they want to join the academy. If you're interested in the academy, by the way, and checking it out, just go to mydigitalfarmer.com/academy, and you'll be able to see that resource. If you want to try it out for free for 1 week, there's a coupon code on there. 1 month. You get a month free. You can kind of try it out and see if you like what's inside there. Just go to that link and you'll see the sales page and gives you all the details. All right, where am I in my notes here? Okay, so we were launching the challenge. And then as the challenge is going on, you want to be engaging with your members. That's really important. Don't just be putting out teaching content and then not talk to people. Because if it's done well, you're going to have all kinds of people posting pictures and sharing ideas and inspiration with one another. It's going to kind of go crazy. And you want to go in there and hit the like button and write a comment, say great job, or ask a qualifying question to get them to write back and stimulate engagement in the group. So one of the reasons I love having a community manager, I pay her to help me oversee that group, is because I have another set of eyes on this community who can really curate that content with me and nurture that community really, really well. So be sure that you are engaging with the community during the challenge and praising them and continuing to coach them through it all. I also have a note here that I take pictures, I take a screenshot of some of those really great photos. And then sometimes I'll post those screenshots in my social places on my public facing business page and kind of say, hey, this is what's going on right now inside my private Facebook group. We're learning all kinds of cool stuff about herbs. If you want to learn more about how to get in this group, go here. So it can become a way to kind of pitch this valuable part of your offer if you have a Facebook group as part of your CSA. Okay, so I hope that kind of explains to you the nuts and bolts of how to put a challenge together. What I love about challenges is that they are transforming my customer. And you guys, make no mistake about this. You are not selling a box of vegetables. If that's what you think you're selling, I want you to think bigger here. You are selling a transformation. That's what you're selling. That's why people will stay with you. If you can excite the customer and get them to have aha moments with their cooking, try new vegetables, have success stories, and grow as a foodie, you're going to have a customer for life. And so that's what challenges really drive. That's what challenges help accomplish in your brand. And that's why people end up loving your brand, becoming brand ambassadors, and returning to your brand again and again every year. So people will fall in love with your CSA even more when you do challenges well, because you help them grow, you help them achieve some kind of personal transformation. They're also helping the community teach each other, and that's kind of an interesting dynamic. When I first began a Facebook group, I was really focused on how can I be the primary content creator and teach them, and I'm the expert. But I have learned over time that that's not where the magic is. The magic is when you start to see the community driving the engagement, not the primary leader of the group. And challenges really help that happen because we're all teaching each other through the unusual posts. I had somebody put a picture up of basil ice cream, Jess Ely, basil ice cream a few days ago. And I'm like, wow, that was not on our radar. Katie and I never even put that idea on a Post-it note. Wouldn't have occurred to us to make ice cream out of herbs. And that's a great example of how one of several posts like that. Great example of how somebody in our community was able to teach all of us how to use an herb in an unusual way. So when that happens, those members who are doing that, when they're engaging as a kind of an instructor, as a part of your faculty, that makes them feel important and it makes them feel helpful. And now they're more bought in and there's a greater ownership. Like it's like, this is my tribe because I'm now developing other people in here. It just changes the relationship of your customer from just being somebody who's just watching to now I'm engaging and now I'm teaching. That's just a different level of development as a customer. It's also giving you focus. And this is what I love about challenges, because honestly, as a Facebook group manager, sometimes after, you've been doing it for a while, you're like, I don't know what else to talk about. I feel like I've already talked about that before, and you just kind of start to run dry. And then when you have a challenge, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. I know what to talk about. For 14 days, I've got a very specific thing we can be focusing on. And that can be very freeing for you as kind of a planner and as a manager of the group. Plus, you're also going to learn a lot about some of your members. Based on what some of these people are posting, I start to see the same kinds of advanced cooking techniques from some of our members that haven't posted a lot in the past. And so that's telling me something about, wow, this person is a really strong foodie. And then there are other people that might be posting really simple things, and I might, kind of make an assumption that, okay, this is the kind of cook that this person is. Or maybe they have a lifestyle that's really a little bit crazy. But what I really like is discovering the people that weren't really on my radar, and all of a sudden they're whipping out these amazing dishes, or they're doing fermented foods. I'm like, dang, they're like advanced. So you're going to learn a lot about who your big hitters are in your CSA when you do stuff like this in the challenges. Now, they're also a great strategy to use in your CSA in the off season, because that's the time of year when we're like, I don't know how to keep people engaged in my brand. How do I keep them wanting to come back into my group or just wanting to engage with me, period? When you create a challenge, now they're like zoned in on you in a time of year when typically things go dormant and you worry that you're going to, lose them. Plus, finally, challenges can build massive, massive brand awareness for you if you run it on your public business facing side of your business page, of your Facebook business page. I just totally messed that sentence up. If you do a challenge on your public facing business page or on your Instagram page, you can really build some brand awareness. So I want to challenge you to try to create your own challenge this coming season, sometime before the end of your CSA. Hi. Yes.
I'm bringing you tomatoes.
Hi, Mike. This is all say hi to Mike.
Oh, hello.
These are all my farmers. This isn't even my CSA.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hang on one second. I really am wrapping up. All right, hold. Oh, love it. So this is my challenge to you. I want you to try to do some kind of challenge this season before the end of your CSA. Pick something, pick a topic, create some mini topics that you can teach around it, and build that out. I want to hear how it goes, because if you're like my CSA, it's going to create a ton of energy and excite your brand. Hey guys, if you want to learn more about marketing strategies for farmers, I want to encourage you to check out my podcast. It's called My Digital Farmer, and you can learn more about it at mydigitalfarmer.com/podcast. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube later, and I can't wait to hear what some of your ideas for a challenge are. Take care, guys. Have a good one.